I ended my engagement because of my fiancé's toxic family. She eventually recognized their behavior, but by then, I had already moved on. My fiancée had a traumatic childhood with narcissistic parents who scapegoated her in favor of her two brothers. At 18, she was forced out of their home, but her academic success allowed her to rebuild her life and secure an impressive career. Unfortunately, once she started earning a good income, her family wormed their way back into her life. They were rude, entitled, and overbearing, frequently showing up at our house uninvited. My fiancée struggled to stand up to them, allowing them to barge in every time. Her mother acted like she owned our home, her father raided our fridge and left dirty dishes, and her brothers trashed the place. Meanwhile, my fiancée would tremble in a corner, overwhelmed, as her parents demanded yet another loan. I tried discussing this with her repeatedly, but she always said there was a part of her, a scared little girl, desperately seeking their approval. I've seen her cry herself to sleep more times than I can count. Tomorrow, I plan to tell her we need to postpone the wedding until she sets firm boundaries with her family. Update 1. My fiancé came home from work early, and since I was already off, I decided to have the conversation sooner than planned. I explained that this situation wasn't sustainable. I told her I wasn't comfortable marrying her given her family's overwhelming presence in our lives, and I certainly didn't want to raise a child in this environment. I wasn't demanding she cut them off completely, but I insisted on strict rules about their visits and behavior in our home. I also suggested couples therapy before marriage. She wasn't pleased. She glared at me while I spoke and exploded in anger afterward, saying I didn't understand her family's dynamics and that her approach worked for her. I countered that her family was manipulative and would drain her emotionally and financially. I pointed out that no child should have to beg for their parents' love. I gave her an ultimatum, set boundaries or I'm done. Furious, she kicked me out since it was her house. For the past few days, I've been staying at a hotel, moved my belongings to storage, and honestly, it's been refreshing. I've been relaxing, catching up on movies and games I haven't had time for, and enjoying the peace of a quiet room without her family's chaos. I'm planning to stay with my family for a few weeks in mid-July, then start looking for my own place. Yesterday, things escalated. I knew her family would be over on Saturday, as they always are, and she often relied on me to shield her from their abuse. In a moment of pettiness, fueled by resentment, I muted my phone and played Disco Elysium all day, ignoring her calls. By evening, she had sent over a dozen texts and left 2 frantic voicemails begging me to come back. I went to check on her and found her sobbing in the living room. She clung to me, crying uncontrollably. After calming down, she explained that her parents and brothers came over, demanded money, and said cruel things to her. Without me there and with her friends refusing to step in, she finally saw their true colors. She kicked them out, but not before they hurled vile insults at her. She apologized repeatedly and begged me to return. I told her I loved her and understood her trauma, but I had built up significant resentment. I laid out my conditions. She sells the house and we buy one together as equals. Her family is never allowed in our new home. She starts therapy, we attend premarital counseling, and we go low contact with her family, working toward no contact. I made it clear these were non-negotiable, and if she couldn't agree, we'd part ways. She admitted she's known for a while that her family is toxic and agreed to make changes, though some would take time. For now, I'm staying at the hotel until I visit my family. She's welcome to visit me, but I refuse to return to her house. We're both off tomorrow, so we'll spend the day together, maybe go out. This isn't resolved yet, but I may not update again until mid-August. Update 2. Despite planning to wait until later to update, hoping for progress in our relationship and her setting boundaries with her family, we've now broken up. After last weekend, when I left her to face her family alone, she seemed to understand their toxicity and was open to changes, including boundaries and possibly moving. We spent Monday and Tuesday together at my hotel, but the other night, she was vague about coming over and arrived much later than planned. I sensed something was wrong. She then accused me of being abusive, controlling, demanding, and unsupportive. It was obvious her parents had fed her this script. Frustrated, I asked if her family told her to say this. She claimed it was her idea, though they suggested it. I challenged her to explain how I was abusive. She called me a parasite, but I reminded her I paid half the mortgage, utilities, and groceries, and had my own car and a job earning as much as hers, unlike her parents, who constantly demanded money. I asked her to try again. Flustered, she said I was isolating her. I pointed out that I always supported her friendships, which she ruined herself because no one wanted to deal with her family. I demanded to know why she was so determined to ruin her life for them. She screamed that I didn't understand her family and that she was just trying to earn their love. She was unraveling, ranting incoherently. It hit me hard. She wasn't just broken, she didn't want to heal. Exhausted, I asked her to leave before things escalated further. She left, and some concerned neighbors checked on me. Her friends messaged me, saying she'd given them similar rants when they expressed concern. One mentioned she might be at risk of losing her job. She's spiraling, isolating herself completely, and running toward a lonely, miserable life. As selfish as it sounds, I'm relieved to be moving on. Update 3. I forgot to update my mailing address, so some important items were sent to her house. I also wanted to pick up a few things I'd left behind. She was unresponsive to my messages, so I went to her place with a mutual friend, Tiffany, for support. Thankfully, she let me collect my belongings without much trouble. However, she was hostile, throwing out insults. She claimed she was already seeing other people, said she was happier without me, and called herself free now. It was clearly a rehearsed script from her family, and she looked miserable, exhausted, and disheveled. The house was a wreck. She didn't even seem angry, just broken. As I left, I told her she'd lost her friends, her support system, and our engagement, and now she was left with her family, who would drain her completely. She just stared at me blankly and walked away. Tiffany asked if I was okay, and I assured her I was, focusing on preparing to visit my family next week. She mentioned that my ex did lose her job for missing work and ghosting her employer. Her friends are planning an intervention next week and asked if I'd join, but I declined. I need a clean break and don't want to witness her further decline. Update 4. Some mutual friends updated me on my ex, and things seemed to be improving. An intervention was planned for Sunday, but on Saturday night, after another visit from her family, she had a breakdown and called her friends in a panic. She ended up in the ER after a severe panic attack. She finally acknowledged how much she'd messed up her life. She tried contacting me, but I had her blocked. Contrary to earlier rumors, she still has her job, but she's on thin ice, and her bosses mandated she take PTO to get herself together. Her friends have been incredibly supportive, given how caring she used to be. However, they've agreed that if she reverts to her old patterns, they'll let her go. Her family has continued harassing her with calls and visits, but her friends and neighbors have kept them at bay. Her parents and brothers took their drama to social media, which backfired, exposing their behavior and quieting them for now. She sent me a message through a friend, apologizing for the awful things she said, admitting they came from her family and expressing hope that we could reconnect someday. I responded that we need to stay apart for good, urging her to focus on healing. I wished her well but made it clear this was our final goodbye. Her friends are helping her process this, and while she has a long road ahead, I hope she finds peace as I'm finding mine. Update 5. Tragically, despite her friends' efforts, my ex took her own life, and her friend group has fallen apart. I learned this last night. Since I left, her friends had been supporting her with therapy, boundary setting, and getting her out of the house. However, Tiffany, who helped me retrieve my things, grew suspicious when she noticed my ex being overly affectionate with her boyfriend, Daniel. Tiffany found intimate messages between them on his phone, dating back 8 months, while we were still together. When confronted, Tiffany exposed the affair to the group. Daniel, in a desperate move, accused another friend, Joseph, of covering for him, causing Joseph's girlfriend to end their relationship. The friend group of about 9 people imploded, with only Tiffany and Joseph's ex still speaking. This all unfolded within a week of my departure. My ex was fully blamed and lost her entire support system. She explained to the group that she and Daniel had grown close, that he supported her, and that her family approved of him over me. Her plan was to leave me for him, but he refused to leave Tiffany and disliked her family, keeping their relationship a secret affair. I was surprisingly calm learning this. My ex was completely ostracized, even by Daniel, who vanished. She lost her job for good and spent her time with her family, who had essentially won. 2 nights ago, she took her life at home. Her family found her showing little emotion. A friend who lived nearby arrived as emergency services did. Tiffany called to inform me and asked if I wanted to see a note my ex left for me for closure. I'm reeling from the mental whiplash. I never truly knew her. Over the past month, I've accepted that she was abusive by subjecting me to her family's behavior. And now I know she was trying to push me away for another man her family approved of. I'm left questioning what was real in our relationship and with the friend group I spent years with. Returning home was the best choice I've made. I'm starting therapy to process this, reconnecting with trustworthy people in person, and leaning on my family for support.